So why outside-in concepts? Well, this whole world of outside-in, as we talked about in the book Outside In, fully updated for 2021, is all about using techniques which go way beyond those old industrial age approaches. So grouping them together, you can sort of think of them as a very sort of powerful toolkit for being able to advance and transform our organizations. So that individually, they're all very powerful. Collectively, they're really incredible. And potentially, they are extraordinary in terms of the results that they provide. And I'm going to talk about something in terms of results as the Triple Crown, that simultaneous ability to actually grow revenues, reduce costs, and improve service. And hey, don't worry if you're in the public sector. It's all about the revenues that we use and how we use them. So where does the money come from, which actually funds our organization, actually funds what we do. So there's 10 of these outside-in concepts that I'm going to cover. The first, the most basic one, if you like, baselining it, the foundational one, is this idea of the moment of truth. But as you can see, there's a whole bunch of others. Each is a build on the previous one. So once you've got the one concept, yep, you can roll on and get the others. Immediately you've got any one concept, you can start to use it in the workplace. So how's that for a deal? So let's have a look at the first one, shall we, which is moment of truth. And as it says there, if you understand this idea involving customers, internal or external, you'll get the moment of truth. You'll get the ability to be able to use it in your own work environment. And a moment of truth is one of those things that's frequently been talked about, and it's not as though it's anything new. However, the science around it has improved significantly over the last couple of decades. So I'll do you a quick review about what it is and how it's used. And then we'll talk about the next concepts which take moments of truth and push them to the next level. How does that sound? Sound good? Great. So in terms of moments of truth, the guy we've got to be appreciative of is Richard Norman, right? Scandinavian chap who way back in the 1970s, 50 odd years ago now, wrote his university thesis on this idea of a moment of truth. Basically, any interaction with a customer from his perspective was a moment of truth. And back then, the basic idea was you have moments of magic when everything goes well, and you have moments of misery when everything doesn't and everything fails. So with that idea in mind, a few years later, a Scandinavian colleague of his, a chap called Jan Carlson, picked up this idea, and he was president of Scandinavian Airlines at the time. And he identified all the moments of magic, yay, we want to make those better, and all the moments of misery, yeah, we want to get rid of those. And in tasking his people to begin to remove those moments of misery, Scandinavian became one of the best performing airlines, not only in Europe, but across the world during that period of time. Latterly, Jan Carlson left Scandinavian Airlines, wrote the book called Moments of Truth. And so many people think the moments of truth concept came from Jan Carlson. No, it didn't. He was really the first to articulate it in a practical context and implement it in such a way that he helped his organization transform. So moments of truth, yeah, they're not a 21st century concept. They go back into the 20th century, so they're 50 odd years old. So let's have a look at the moment of truth in its essence. What is it? As we've already said, it's any interaction with the customer. And when I'm talking about any interaction, that's the total experience, not just within our organization. As we all know, customers have experiences, and they always have. It's just traditionally, we haven't really looked at experiences through that lens. We've really looked at experiences of where they occur within our organizational context. And that's the wrong ways around of thinking about it. We need to go outside in and look at where does the need arise and when is the need satisfied. That's the total customer experience. And with that in mind, there's moments of truth that may well be outside of your control and outside of your remit at the moment, involving other people, but nevertheless, they are part of the customer experience. Now, here's a really big learning point of the last few years. They're the fundamental cause of all work. Yep, all work stems from a moment of truth. Oh, and I love that one where you're talking to the guys in marketing. They go, oh, no, we don't experience moments of truth. We do campaigns and things like that. And you go, no, it's not about experiencing moments of truth. It's about everything that you do should contribute and link back to the delivery of moments of truth. Otherwise, why are we doing it? And the design principle involved when we find a moment of truth is we want to either remove it, get rid of it forever, and I'll explain that more fully when you see the how to do this, or improve it. Right, if we can't remove it, how do we improve it? Now, in doing that, if it is the fundamental cause of all truth, right, 100%, then everything that's in association with the moment of truth, if you remove it, will go away also. So that's a pretty powerful idea, isn't it? And it's safe to say that for every process and experience that deserves to exist, there's an optimum number of moments of truth to achieve a desired successful outcome. And our role as people who are responsible for moments of truth is to actually help the organization understand what is that optimum at the moment. Now, theoretically, the optimum is, anybody guess? If you're really, really radical around your moments of truth, theoretically, what's the optimum? Yeah, it's 1. Right. And there are some organizations, Amazon to name one, for instance, who pretty much engineer all their processes and experiences to try to get it down to that minimalist 1. But that's a theoretical idea from the point of view of being able to drive to that. We know in our organizations, they were never designed to be able to be one and done. They were designed with complex IT systems, with functional specialist silos, with different skill sets and different competencies, all right? So accordingly, when you're thinking about moments of truth, there may be an optimum for where we are now, but in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months time, that optimum may change. But our endeavor is to drive down the number of moments of truth. If they are the cause of all work, 100%, as you remove moments of truth, you will reduce costs, you'll improve throughput, you'll enhance service, and if you're in a revenue generating business, you will grow revenues. Customers will come back for more. So that's the moments of truth overall in terms of that. As I said, the science around moments of truth has significantly moved on over the last few years. And 10 years or so ago, Google were doing a lot of work around this, and they came up with this idea of the 0 moment of truth. It's the moment of truth which precedes all others, all right? And I'm going to give you some resources at the end of this so you can click through and you can go and investigate these things in more detail. But that 0 moment of truth idea, or the Z-mot or the Z-mot, depending on where you are in the world, really what is the trigger point for all moments of truth? And the trigger point when we're thinking about this is, where does the need arise? And when that need arises, it might be a thought process. You know, it might not actually be a physical interaction. It could be a thought process, but it's a moment of truth nevertheless, because it's an interaction potentially with the products or services that you provide. Therefore, so think about going, you know, I need to go on a flight. Okay, so where does the need arise? Well, I need to go on a flight. Right, that's the first moment of truth, right? And it isn't over until I'm back at home again with a glass of wine or something similar. So the 0 moment of truth was an endeavor to try to find that moment of truth that precedes all the others. Another concept a few years later after that was micro moments of truth, where we can actually dig down into moments of truth. And it's all about articulating customer needs, even when they may not necessarily know them themselves, right? And naturally, customers will gravitate towards brands that really are able to deliver on those needs. So that's a couple of the ideas from recent times. But when we start to think about applying the moment of truth, there's some key techniques that help us in terms of innovation, if you like, transformation. And they can be applied to both internal and external customers. And with that sort of thing in mind, we use something called the 6-step innovation approach. So if you want to go on that little journey, then click the links close by and you can proceed to understand, you know, not just the what it is, but how is it deployed by some of the best companies on the planet, and what difference does that make? And it is a substantial difference. So that's the first concept, moments of truth. Thank you, guys. See you soon.